In this video, we are going to focus on revision exercise 3, algebra, and we're going to focus on expressions. You will find this on page 120 in the Namibian Ordinary Level Mathematics textbook, y equals mx plus c to success. Before I start with this exercise, I want you to notice the following. Do you see this is all expressions? There's no equal sign, no equal sign, no equal, 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 no equal sign. So in the examination, they are going to mix it. So before you start, just look at the question and decide, is it an expression? Expressions has no equal signs. In the next video, I will do equations and then there will be an equal sign. Okay, but let's start with expressions. Now again, they are just going to say expand and simplify, and then you're just going to see this bracket. So basically what you must do is you must just multiply out this bracket. Now again, I want you to take you first to the textbook. So let's again look at the table of content. Okay, here it is. We are in chapter 3. Okay, now if you look at chapter 3, and then I'm going to, and I must take a ruler. I think this, because I was not giving you, so this is very easy. Addition and subtraction, it's basically grade 9 work, 8 and 9 work, but you can also revise that. But I'm going to start this exercise by this. So let's go to page 91. Okay, I'm just going to move. Now, before I'm starting with the exercise, I think it will be good if I just run through a few basic things. This is also grade 8 and 9, so it's also not so difficult. Okay, so I'm just, again, as I said, focus on the blocks. So if there's just a number in front, so basically what I do is I just multiply, and then I just get my answer. Then I check, are there like terms? If there's no like terms, I just leave it like that. So that's very easy. Let's look at the next one. Okay, let's just move it down. Oh, this line's, that's always coming and then going. Don't know why. Okay, so if you look at the next one, now you will see the double bracket. Can you see? So basically in this case, it's going to be two terms, and two terms inside, and we're going to multiply these brackets out. Let's call it long multiplication. So I think this method is easy, and I'm not going to struggle with a lot of methods. I think I'm just going to work with the arrows. So in this case, I'm just going to take the first term and I multiply the first and I get x squared. The first term, multiply the second term, I get negative 2x. Then this one times this one, and I think it's good if I show you with a pencil. I'm at this one, this is positive 3x, and this one, this is negative 6. And then this step was multiplied. And now I'm just going to add or subtract the like terms. So this, I highlight my like terms, and 3 minus 2, that will just be 1, but I don't have to write that one. So I rewrite this is 1x, and I rewrite the negative 6. Okay. If you get one like this, and for now, I think I'm just going to focus on the long method. The short method, if you can do it, keep on doing it, but otherwise, let's do the long method. So very, very, very important. If you were having this inside, say there was only one term, then you can basically multiply it in and say square, square. But I still think, especially you are nervous, you make unnecessary mistakes, rather write it out 2 times and you get 9b squared. Easy. Now, if you have 2 terms inside the bracket, also write it out. Write that bracket 2 times out. Then do exactly the same. I multiply this bracket, I get b squared. I multiply this, the first with that, negative 3b, this with that, negative 3b, this with that, positive 9, and that is my final answer. Okay, so make sure that you don't forget that. Then we run through the next multiplication. very briefly, just that we can tackle that revision exercise. Now, if you have something in front and then you have the bracket, always, you first have to multiply out this bracket. So it's actually good if you put like a square bracket there. It's almost like you, and I'm first going to do that red part. So I rewrite, and then I say d times d is d squared. D times positive 3 is positive 3d. Negative 4, it's negative 4d. This one is negative 12. And then basically I can first simplify that. Otherwise I multiply in, and there is my like terms. I just simplify it. Okay, there is one in the revision exercise like this. Okay, let's go back to the revision exercise. Okay, I'm moving it just a bit down. Okay, the first one is easy because it's just, I must just take that 3 and I must multiply it in and the 5 and then just add my like terms. But you will get things like that. Okay, so it's 1a. Always first rewrite it and really make sure that you don't make unnecessary mistakes. It's a positive. Now, if it's a positive, it's almost like I say a green robot. You don't have to worry too much. Your signs will be all right. But if there was a negative, you have to stop and you have to think of your signs. So 3 times 2, this will be 6m, plus this times this, 3n, plus this times this, 5m, this times this, minus 5m. I'm finished with the multiplication. What do I do after that? I'm just going to highlight my like terms and always grab the sign in front. And then I'm just going to say that's going to be equal to 6 plus 5. And remember, I'm busy doing addition, so keep your m. Don't square it. You're not busy with multiplying. And then 3 minus 5, that's negative 2n. Leave it like that. That's your final answer. Okay, let's do number B. Okay, now this is fractions, but don't make mistakes with that. It's not so difficult. We're just going to concentrate on it as soon. And remember the indices. What do? We add it if we multiply. So we're just going to really concentrate on that. Okay, so I'm taking, and I'll show you the arrows. I'm multiplying this one. So if I multiply, so it's a, and I add the exponents because I multiply. So it's a half plus half, so it's just going to be 1. Okay, now I'm going to multiply this one. So I'm going to get, okay, this is going to be positive, and it's a half, and there's a b, and it's a half. And then I'm going to multiply this one. And this one is going to be negative a half, b a half. And then the final one, I multiply with this one. And this one is going to, a negative times a positive is a negative, b, and a half plus a half, it's 1. Okay. And again, do you see your like terms? Like. So I'm just going to end by going to say, oh, and it's cancelling out. Did you see? Because it's a positive and a negative. Oh, that's nice. And my final answer is just. Now, this is the difference between two squares. So if I take this and I must factorize, I will get this. So usually if the brackets is exactly the same, but one is a negative, one is a positive, that middle terms should cancel out. Okay, let's go to number C. I think I'm going to make a little bit space for number C because I'm going to do it a little bit long. Number C. So it's 16 minus 4, 3x minus 2, and this is square, so be careful. You cannot multiply that in. You first have to do the square before you can multiply. So I prefer, you can even put a square bracket there and say I focus first. But don't just rewrite, don't just write that. Rewrite everything from the beginning. So it's going to be 16 minus 4. Just rewrite. And I'm even going to do it long. That's why I was making space. I write it out 2 times. Then you're not going to make mistakes. I'm really trying to do a little bit longer methods because I don't want you to make unnecessary mistakes in the exams. So rewrite, bracket. Now, start with your, this times this is going to be 9x squared. Then this times this, it's going to be negative 6x. Then this times this, oh, I wanted to make it red. Okay, this times this is going to be negative 6x. And this times this is going to be negative, oh no, a negative times a negative, positive, almost mistake. Okay, now if you can even, to make it shorter, it's not necessary, you can already add your like terms there. But you can do it in the next step also. So it's negative 12x plus 4. And now you must be very careful because that's a negative and I want to make it red, okay? Be careful because a negative change signs in the bracket. So I'm going to have 16 and now I'm going to say negative 4 times 9, it's going to be negative 36x squared, and a negative times a negative, it's going to be positive 48x, and a negative, it's going to be negative 16. And do you see, this is positive 16 and this is negative 16. So the final answer will be negative 36x squared plus 48x. And that will be your final answer. Okay, there we did multiplication. Good to first revise it and then to try it. Let's do the next one. Now, remember, factorize is the reverse of multiplication. Okay, so I see the word factorize. And that means, always when you see the word factorize, it means you have to work back to the brackets. Okay, so always also remember that factorize make 2 terms 1 term, 4 terms 1 term, 3 terms 1 term. And that's why we're going to use it in this cancelling out. Okay, but I'll come to that. Let's first going to revise factorization. I'm first just going to make space so that if I come back, I have space. Okay. Okay, I first want you to go back. So I'm just going to, this is my documents, and I can again go to the table of content because the table of content helps me to find things, and then I'm just going to look factorize. Okay, that's the here, do you see? So I will look on page 100. So let's go back to the document. Okay, now unfortunately the pages is not numbered at the bottom, so I have to just check. Oh, but I strike line. That's correct. Okay. I first just very briefly just going to remind you of all the type of factorizations we get. There's 4. Now, and as I said, you can watch the individual videos, but for now, I think especially for the examination, it's good that you just go through the basics. And remember what I said, always, just to make sure you can still remember it, cover that part with a paper, take a pencil, redo it, and then check if you are correct. And you can just go through the blocks just to make sure you know the basics. Okay, but factorization, we get 4. And I'm going to write it here, and then I will search for it. Okay, so the first one, and I think it stands in the summary, it's a common fact. Okay, this is factorize. I first want... And remember, this will say expand or simplify, and if I reverse back, it will say factorize. Okay, so it's the reverse of multiplication. So it's a common factor. The second one, I usually do grouping. I will show you now something also. The third one, it's difference between two squares. And the last one is the nice and challenging one. It's trinomials, quadratic trinomials. Now, can I just remind you, common factor can have, okay, 2 terms or 3 terms or 4 terms. Doesn't matter, but at least 2. Grouping is usually having 4 or 6, not usually, but it can have 8 after 8 terms. Difference between is just having 2 terms. And trinomials will always have 3 terms. Okay, so I'll show you now, and then we're going to try to fit it into this 4. But for now, common factor, it's coming also from grade 8 or 9, I think more. It's just you are looking for the biggest thing that can divide into 16 and 24. And in this case, it's 8. So, and then I'm just looking, I'm just saying to myself, is there an A in both? Yes. And then I take, and I want to make it a bit bigger, that you can see better. And then you basically just take that smallest exponent, which is a 2. Is there a B in both? Yes. What is the smallest exponent? No. Now it's going to be a 1. And then you just basically say this divide this, there I showed you, and you get this. This divide this, and you get this. And that's that. Okay, that is difference, common factor. Let's go to the next one. As I said, I'm just running very briefly through everyone. Now I'm at grouping. I just want to show you quickly grouping. Now, grouping is usually having 4 terms or 6 or 8, but most of the time 4 terms. Okay. Now, what you do, it's actually a common factor, but you cannot take a common factor out of all 4 terms. So you take a common factor out of the first 2 terms, and then another common factor out of these 2 terms. So in the first 2 terms, I'm taking out 2a. So if I divide 2a, I get 4c. If I divide, I get 3d. Plus, if I divide, I get, okay, now I take a different common factor, 3b. So if I divide, I get 4c, and if I divide, where am I? That one divide that one, I get. So I take 2 different common factors out. And then, if I'm correct, my brackets will be the same. Now, don't forget, if there's a positive, now I like to compare it to a green robot. Don't worry, you will not make an accident. The signs will work out. Okay, I'll show you now when there's a negative. So then you take out the bracket, and if you divide, you're just left with the in front, the part in front. And if you divide, just the part in front, and there you take note, it was 4 terms, and now it's just 1 term. So factorize makes it 1 term. Let's do the next one. Okay, I just want to show you, I'm still at grouping, and this is the story which I say, if you come to a red robot, just stop, otherwise you're going to make a mistake or an accident. So do you see what I mean? There is a negative, I don't want it green, I want it red. There is the red light. Okay, so I'm still taking, in the first one, I'm taking 3x out, but then I take out y, and a negative divide, usually you will not make a mistake here. Your mistake will be at this one, because a positive divide by a negative will be a negative. So if you check here, it was a positive, but it changed to a negative. Now, can I give you this hint? When you are in the examination and you see that this is a positive and this is a negative, then just check if that was not a negative and if you were not making a sign mistakes there. So then take it out, divide, and then you will get the in front part, divide, and you will get the in front part. Okay, that's grouping. Now, difference between 2 squares. Now, I always say difference between 2 squares tells you everything. Because the word difference say there must be a negative between the 2 terms. And it must be squares. That means that the numbers must be square numbers like 1, 4, 9, 16. And that must be, and the exponents must be divisible by 2. That means even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now what you do is okay, I just check. I must always check the free rules. Now I say, yes, only 2 terms with a negative. First rule. Is the number square numbers? Yes, 16 and 1. Are all the indices must be even numbers? Yes. And now it's the difference. And all that I do is I always make my 2 brackets. In one I make a plus, and in the other one a minus. Or first minus and then plus. It doesn't matter. Okay. And then I imagine there's a square root. And if there's a square root, it will be 4. And that 2 divided 2 will just be x. And that 4 divided 2, it's A2B3. And whatever stands there, I repeat there. Whatever stands there, I will just repeat there. Okay, that's different. Okay, then there's always, and I want to show you, because usually the examples is not so difficult, but it can be a more challenging example in the examination. So just take note. Sometimes when you come to this one and you stop, a lot of students stop there and then they lose some of their marks. Why? Because if you focus on this one, just on this one, you see it's again 2 terms with a negative. The numbers is 1 and 1, which is square numbers, and the exponents is divisible by 2. So basically this one I can factorize again into this. Okay, and this 2 divided 2 is 1, 4 divided 2 is 2, and this will be. Now some of the students will say, but Miss, why can you not do it with that one also? The reason is because there's a positive. You can only do difference between 2 squares if there stands a negative. Okay, and that's why that one can go on. Okay, and then now sometimes you combine factorization, and this is what I was trying to show you here. So in this one, you will first take out a common factor, like 1, and then you will check the bracket, and then you'll say, oh, but this is difference between 2 squares. 9 is a square number, 1 is a square number, 2 is divisible by 2, 2, and then I will do, and then I will just rewrite the front. So just take note. Make sure that you can go, if you can go further, go further. Also, don't, after you were taking out a common factor, you will always first test that one. Then check if it's not maybe trinomial or difference between 2 squares. Okay. And now is the last one. And I'm running very fast through this. Look at the individual videos if you really struggle with it. For now, it's just revision. Okay, so I'm always having this one where I say a trinomial will be an x squared plus a bx plus a c. So it will be like 2x squared plus 3x plus c. So it's an x squared plus a x plus 1 without an x. Now if it's in positive, I like to call it group A, and if it's a negative, I like to call it group B. And all that you do, and I'm really just briefly reminding you, is you just take that numbers, and I'm just going to do it even here. So if it was x squared, and I like always to show it here, it's in group A, so my numbers will be 1 and 1, and then I test. I take the factors, so it's 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Now usually if there's not only 1, I have to turn it around, but for now I think you are good already. You can just say it's 1 and 1, 2 and 3. I cross multiply. Okay, so I get 3 and 2, and then I add because it's in group A, and that must give me the middle term, which is 5. And then in group A, the signs are the same, and both is the sign of, not always plus plus, can be minus minus. You look at this middle term. This one is now plus plus, and that's why I will just do it. And then rewrite the bracket. Don't write the brackets over cross. Write it as x plus 2, x plus 3. That you do at the end. Okay, that is now easy because there was a 1. And I think what I'm doing then, and I'm just showing you, and as I said, go through the blocks. Now this one is still in group, let's make it rather Oh, no, it's not showing when it's, so I have to make it red. It's still in group A. The only thing now that there's more, so I'm just going to say it's 11, and it can be another alphabet letter also, variable. Okay, and again, you go 1 and 11, 11 and 1. Now you have to turn it around. And then you go 1 and 21, 3 and 7, 7 and 3, 21 and 1. And then you test it like this. You take this one, you test, because you must cross multiply and then add. Okay, now if I look at this one, 21 plus, no. If I look at, oh, this is nice. I like this one. Because it's 1 and 11, 3 and 7. So this is 33 plus 7, which is that 40. Oh, and it's an excellent one because look, the signs are the same. But the signs are both negative because there is a negative. And now because it's y squared y, I write a y there, a y. And my two brackets will be y minus 3, 11 y minus 7. And how can I test it? If you really have time in the examination, just go, don't do it here, do it on the side, and then just go and say, I multiply, just there on the side, and see if you get that result. Okay, but it's not necessary, only if you have time. Okay, the next one. Now we are in group B. Now, let's just go run quickly through this also, then we're through with factorization. Now, and this is now, look there, there's a negative. It's more or less the same. Can I, oh, this is nice, it's a 1. Now I'm just going to say, okay, again, it's 1 and 1, 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Okay, I like this 3. I'm still going to cross multiply, but now I'm going to subtract. So 15 minus 1, it's 14. Oh, but I like this one. Because 5 minus 3 will give me that 2. And then I always say, I tell the students, remember to highlight the biggest over cross product and put the sign of the middle in the circle in front of this second column, and then the signs are different because it's group B. So if this is negative, this is positive, and then it's p squared p, so then it's p. It's always that middle that you write. So my answer will be p plus 3, p minus 5, and that will be my answer. Okay, now okay, that's that. Then maybe just a more difficult one, which I'm showing you here. And again, the method is exactly the same. I'm just showing you, I'm not going to do it for you. It's again, it's group B. I find, because look here, it's 6 times 2 is 12. It's 5, and 12 minus 5 will give me that, look there, 7. And then the biggest over cross product will get that positive, and that's negative. And then remember, it's k squared k, so it's k, and there's my brackets. And then maybe just the last thing I want to tell you is that maybe sometimes you can get one like that. It's almost like where you first take out a common factor. So just look here. Here, this one is double this one. Do you see? So you can bring a constant in. Otherwise, instead of just writing x, you just write x squared. So you can check. There I was taking out a common factor, and then I was looking in the bracket and I was factorizing the trinomial in group A. Here, just take, this is p squared and this q squared. So for the front, I write p, and for the back, I just write q. You can just, and there I took out a common factor of a negative. Okay, and maybe I just remind you, factorize when to use which one. If it's 2 terms, always try common factor, then difference between 2 squares. 3 terms, try common factor, then trinomial. If it's 4 or more terms, try common factor, then grouping. So always first try to take out a common factor. Okay, and we can go back. It's quite long. Okay, now I'm just seeing factorize. They don't help me. But I know. I must just remember there's 4 times. I'm going to take it a little bit lower. And I'm going to start 2a. And I'm first going to think a little bit. There's just 2 terms. So it can be common factor or difference. But there's even a plus. So it can just be common factor. And I think in the exam they're going to give easy ones also. So it's not going to just be difficult. They are going to be easy things. Okay, so if I divide, do you see I can take out 3 and the smallest exponent is a 1. So if I divide, there's going to be a p. Do you agree? And if I divide, that p is going to cancel and it's just going to be a 4. Easy, easy, easy marks to get. Okay, now I'm going to do b. And look at b, it's so nice and it's even a positive. Oh, it's really nice. If it was negative, it was a bit more difficult. This is nice. You see 4 terms, you think grouping. And you see the word factorize. Okay, so I take out at the first 2x as a common factor. And this positive, if it's negative, be careful, but it's positive. I take out y. And then I look, oh, you the same, you the same. And then I just take out the bracket, that's the same. And if I divide, what will be left? The front. If I divide, what will be left? That. And that's my final answer. Remember again, 4 terms, factorize, make it 1 term. 2 terms, factorize, make it 1 term. Okay. And then the last one, also nice. And I think really in the exam, they're just going to sometimes test if you can do the basics. I always say to students, remember, there will be difficult sums and don't let it stress you out too much. There will also be easy sums and focus first on that and then try to conquer the difficult ones. Okay, this is in group, what is this? I will call it group B because it's negative. So you can do it here on this side. You can say 2 and 1. You can say 1 and 3, but that will not work. But if you say, yes, 1 and 3 will work. 3 and 1 will not work. Because that is 6, do you agree? Minus 1. So if you will make it 3 and 1, it's not positive, it's negative. So I cross multiply, but I must subtract. So 6 minus 1 is 5. The signs are different. The biggest over cross product, get the middle term in front. And then this one is different signs. So this was positive. And then it's just x and x. And my final answer is just 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. As easy as that. Okay. Okay, we finished with factorization. Now, if we come to fractions, now I'm not going to revise that. You can go. I'm just going to do that. Maybe with no, I'm just going to do that. But maybe I can just tell you that you will find this in the textbook on a page 110. Okay, if you want to revise, but this is not very difficult. So, but if you first want to revise it, just go to the textbook to page 110. Okay, I just don't want to make the video too long. So let's look at number 3. Okay, so it's 3 over 2x. Remember, this is an expression. Okay, I could have first already write this first step, but I always tell is first make everything fractions. You could have done it already in the first step. Then find the LCM. Now, what is the LCM? It must be the common, so 2 and 3 can go to 6, and there's an x. So now you must every time say 6x divided by 2. Or with what must I multiply 2x to get? Just with 3, and I like writing it in. And this one, 6x divided 3, that's going to be 2x. And I write it, whatever I write at the bottom, I write at the top. And there it will just be 6x. I always like writing it in. Then I don't make mistakes. And if it was an equation, the denominators could cancel out. But it's not an equation. So my final answer will just be 9. And you can put it now basically over 6x. Okay, so it's 9 plus 4x squared plus 18x plus 12x squared. I just want to see, oh, that's not a plus. It's like I'm thinking and it's just a negative. Sorry, I didn't concentrate. Negative 12x squared. So if I'm going to rewrite that, I'm just, and usually I like rewriting it first, the x squared. So negative 12 plus is going to be negative 8x squared, okay? Because can you see that this and this is like, grab that sign, like terms, plus 18x. Let's just get that. Oh, let's get it right. Plus 18x plus 9. And it's over 6x. And you cannot do anything further. Please don't cancel. You can only, I'll show you now when you can cancel in maths. Now, this one is a bit more challenging, but also not that challenging. Let me show you. Let's do number B. I first want to make space. Okay, let's do number B. Okay, so this was y plus 1. Now, I always tell students, maybe I did it in the videos also, I say as soon as you see two terms on the bottom or the top, put brackets around it. Bracket, bracket, bracket. Now, again, it's an expression. So what is my LCM? So my LCM is basically just the two brackets. Y plus 5, y plus 1. So, again, I'm doing the same. To get there, I just multiply this with y plus 1. Whatever I do at the bottom, I do at the top. Whatever here, I multiply with y plus 5, and I multiply with y plus 5. And that's basically. And now I can just write everything. Okay, so I will have, let's just make y plus 1 minus y over y plus 5, and it's going to be y plus 5 over y plus 1. Okay, now don't forget, you have to multiply this one with this one. I just want to get a red, and this one with this one. It's long multiplication. So y times y, you just do it, y squared, plus this one times it's plus y, this one times this one, plus y, plus 1. And be careful, do you see there? There's a negative, be careful. So it's going to be negative y squared minus 5y. Do you see the problem usually comes here because it changed from a positive to a negative, because it's a negative times a positive, and then it's over. Okay, and it will be y plus 5, y plus 1. And then I'm just going to start to see what is my like terms. Okay, first I see, oh, this is so nice. This, I like things that cancel out. And this is 2y minus 5y. Can you see it's like terms? Like. So this is going to be negative 3y, okay, plus that one. And it's all going to be over y plus 5, y plus 1. It's really not that difficult. So you just get your LCM, you get your things to multiply with, then you simplify basically the numerator. That's all you do. Sometimes you can factorize here so that a bracket can cancel with a bracket, but in this case it did not work out. Okay. Now I said to you, factorize, make one term, and I want to show you this one. Let's just do that one. I like these things. I like things that cancel out. Okay, now can I just, before I do number 4, remember, you can only cancel out if you have one term over one term. Okay, So basically, you are going to have x squared minus x minus 20 over x3 minus 10x squared plus 25x. Okay, so you basically have free terms over free terms. You cannot cancel out. But what makes one term? Factorize makes one term. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to factorize. This is in group B. Can you see? And I do it on the side. So I say 1 and 1, and I say 4 and 5. Because 5 minus 4 gives me that 1. The biggest over cross product, get that middle sign, a negative. This gets a positive. And then it's going to be x plus 4, x minus 5. Now here, I take first x out as a common factor. So I'm going to get x squared minus 10x plus 25. Now I'm going to factorize it again. So let's see, it's a group A. Do you see that? So say 5 times 5, 1 and 1, because there's a 1. And 5 plus 5, that's going to be 10. And the signs are going to be the same, and both are going to be this sign, and that's a negative. And there's the x and the x. So if I rewrite it again, I'm going to say it's x plus 4, x minus 5. Don't forget that outside x, and then your two brackets, x minus 5, and again x minus 5. And now you have one term over one term, and now you can only cancel a bracket out if they look exactly the same. Okay, it's like a copy of the other one. And then what will be left? It will be just the top bracket. You can put a bracket as well as x minus 5. You can put a bracket around, but it's not necessary. Okay. And then I'm going to do the last one, and I'm going to explain this is division. And if you want to look in the textbook to just revise it, it's on page 94 in the textbook. But just for making the video not too long, I'm just going to do that one and just revise long division. I think it's going to be there. So, and it's really not, you have to think of long division, what you did in primary school when there was just not variables in. And maybe I can just show you and just remind you. Say, for example, in primary school, you were having 5, 3, 1, and you have to divide it, say, whatever, by 5. Then you would have said 5, so you would have first divide. 5 divide 5, and that would have been 1. Okay, so you first divide. And then you said 1 times you were multiplying. So then you multiply. And you would have get 5. Okay, and now you are going to bring that, and I'm just going to check quickly here. Sorry. And now you're just going to bring that. Okay, so and then after you multiply, you're going to subtract. Can you remember? And you would have get a 0 here. And then you bring that 3 down. And then, oh, it cannot. So that was a 0. Okay. And then you bring the 1 down. And now you say, again, you divide. You say 31 divide 5. That was 6. And then you say, and after you divide, you would have multiplied 6 times 5, and you would have get 30. And then after you multiply, you would have subtract and 1, and that would have been your remainder. Okay, so that is exactly, we always do that free. We divide, we multiply, we subtract. I'll show it to you now in this sum. It's just now that we have a x also in the calculation. Okay, so find the quotient and the remainder when this is divided by this. Okay, so if I'm starting, and I'm going to start and do the long division. I think it's going to be better for the examination. So if you are good in the other one, you can do it, the short method. But otherwise, do the long one. Okay, now if it's a 3, a 2, a 1, always arrange it in order. And then in front you have an x minus 4. Okay, now start. You're first going to, and as I said, it's always 3 steps. The 3 steps is divide, then multiply, and then subtract. So you always take this first term and you divide it by this first term. And you can write it here on the side. You can say x, and I want to move it just a little bit. My space is not enough. You can say, no, I don't want to. Okay, no, okay. So you can say x3 divide x, and that will be x squared. And then you write that x squared there on top. Okay, now the only thing, and this is very, very important, you're going to multiply with the first term, but you must not forget to multiply with the second term. So if I multiply, I must get this value, otherwise my division was incorrect. But now, if I multiply with the second term, and please don't forget it, I'm going to get negative 4x squared. Now, after I divide, I must subtract. So then I draw a line and I do subtraction. Now, can you remember subtraction is basically like you multiply this with a negative, so signs change. Now, I prefer that you are doing this. It's a positive and it becomes, and I make, my pen is not working, I make a circle. As soon as I change it, don't change it there, change it on top. Otherwise, you forget and you change it again. Okay, now this cancel out. This is going to be 5 plus 4. So this is going to give me 9x squared. And then I start again to divide. So again, I take my 9x squared and I divide it by this first term, x. And if I do that, I get 9x. So where do I write the 9x? Here on top. It's positive. And now I'm going to multiply, and then don't forget the second one. So this is going to be 9x squared minus 36x. And then you can bring it in, but now you can bring it down. So it's negative 32x. And now I draw my line and I change signs. Okay, this is positive, becomes negative. Ooh, let's just change it nicely. And this is negative and it becomes positive. This cancel, and if I'm going to look at this one, I'm going to get, this is going to be 4. This is going to be 4x. Oh, I don't want to make it red, make it yellow. Still struggle with the color. This is going to be 4x. And then I do exactly the same. I divide, so it's 4x divided by x. And what will that be? 4. Where do I write the 4? There. And then don't forget, I multiply. So I'm going to get 4. Oh, my color. That's going to be 4x. Don't forget to say positive 4 times negative. It's negative 16. And then I bring that negative 7 down. That one. Okay. And then I draw the line. I change my signs because I subtract. There's a bracket and a negative. So this is negative. This is positive. This cancel out. And I'm going to say this last one, 16 minus that 7 is going to be 9. And that's going to be my remainder. So I'm going to end up by saying, okay, I can say remainder, but it's nice if you end to say, therefore, the quotient is always that top part. Okay, so the quotient is x squared plus 9x plus 4, and the remainder is 9. And that's how you do it. So it's really just that 3 steps that you repeat. But if you still struggle, go to the textbook on page 94 and do a few extra sums.